clotting of the blood. You would have seen that when a body gets injured, blood begins to flow, but over a period of time, it gets stopped spontaneously. Do you know why? It's because at the site of the injury, body forms a dark reddish brown scum, which is actually the clot or plug. Actually, this reddish brown scum is formed of a network of or a mesh or network of threads called as fibrins, and within this mesh or network of threads traps the damaged and dead formed elements. So the clotting of the blood is very important, because if the body gets injured or an injury happens anywhere in the body, the blood begins to flow and would never stop. If the body gets injured and the blood doesn't stop, that means there will come a time when the body would lose all of its blood content and the individual would ultimately die. So there's a mechanism which helps body to form plug at the site of the injury. So the today's topic is very important, and we would try to understand how the clot or clotting of blood actually forms. You know, we have discussed in the previous lectures that there are some certain clotting factors, proteins or enzymes present within the plasma portion of the blood, which are very important as far as the coagulation or clotting of the blood is concerned. All of these factors of the for the coagulation of blood are present within the plasma, and these factors or the enzymes, they remain in inactive form. You must understand that the enzymes which takes part in the coagulation of the blood, they remains in an inactive state within the plasma. And some of these important enzymes are, for example, fibrinogens, fibrinogens, uh, prothrombins, and thrombokinases. Throm, Thrombokinases. These are the plasma proteins, the enzymes which are very much essential or important for the coagulation of the blood. All of these proteins or enzymes, they are in inactive state within the plasma portion of the blood. But whenever body gets injured, these inactive form of the enzymes, they change, they gets activated, and then helps the clotting of the blood. So what happens at the time of injury, uh, the thrombokinases, they, for example, this is the prothrombin, an inactive enzyme, the thrombokinase, the thrombokinase activates this prothrombin, this inactive prothrombin, into the active thrombin. So, in the first step, what happens whenever the body gets injured, this thrombokinases, they comes at the site of the injury, they change the zymogen, the inactive state of the prothrombin, into an active thrombin, and then the thrombin, and then this thrombin, it activates, the inactive state of the enzyme fibrinogen and into an active fibrin. Fibrin. Fibrin is actually the fibrous non-globular protein. And what happens? It forms a network of threads at the site of the injury. Something like this. These are the fibers, fibrins, within which get stuck the formed elements of the blood, primarily the RBCs. These are the fibrins. These are the formed elements. You must understand that there are some certain other elements or factors which takes part, which help us, which assist us in clotting the blood, in forming the clot at the site of the injury. And calcium ions play an important role in the coagulation of the blood. So you would have understand now, in a nutshell, you must understand that there are some certain substances, proteins, which remain in inactive state within the plasma. And at the time of the injury or trauma, what happens, all of these substances, the inactive substances, gets activated and then takes part in the coagulation of the blood. And some of these substances are, for example, fibrinogens, prothrombins, thrombokinases. So what happens at the site of the injury? The thrombokinases, they convert the inactive prothrombin into the active thrombin. And then this thrombin gets converted, the inactive fibrinogen into the active fibrin. And these fibrins are the fibrous globular proteins, fibrous non-globular proteins, which form a network or a mesh-like structure within which get stuck the formed elements, primarily the red blood cells. And thus a reddish, so thus a dark reddish brown scum is formed. So this scum, you would have seen that over time it disappears because the injury beneath the scum gets healed up. Okay, so this is in a nutshell how the body forms plug or coagulation at the site of injury. So students, hope you might have understood my today's lecture, and I'm thankful to you that you have watched me.